Hey, Dr. John here with LifeSpa Ayurveda. Today I want to talk about structured water or coherent water. You know, there's a lot of science on both sides of the aisle as to whether or not structured water is actually a real viable thing. Well, I'm going to talk about the science behind it that actually may kind of convince you that there is something to structured water. In fact, it occurs naturally in nature. When water comes out of the ground in a spring, or it's moving through a really purified river, the movement of the water actually creates a structure of the water, which means that the H2O molecules, normally, they just go down and they bounce along independently, bouncing off of each other. Structured water is when those H2 molecules form a structure or become coherent. So when they're moving through a river, the currents actually create this beautiful structure, which actually has a lot of amazing health benefits. As one study showed that when they gave animals structured water, for just 3 months, they saw an increased growth rate. They saw a decrease in blood pressure, increase in insulin sensitivity, increase of an improvement of the lipid profile, healthier sperm count, and enhanced tissue or cell conductivity. Our cells have microcurrents and we run by electrical current. That's how we function. All of it, all of us and the plants, they're all electrical. And the structured water seems to hydrate the body and allow this electrical current to actually fire in a more efficient way. Now, the problem with structured water, and research has been figuring out how to make structured water for decades, but it doesn't last. Sometimes it'll last, for the greatest structured water, it'll last for a day or it'll last for a couple of days. In this study, that water only lasted for 3.5 months. So that's really the problem with structured water is when you create coherent water, it doesn't last or linger. And I want to share with you some research that shows that new technology that can actually allow the water to last for 6 years in a coherent structured state and give you that benefit. So that's what I want to talk about. But let's talk a little bit more about what structured water is. Structured means structure, like ice would be a structure. We all know that there's 3 phases of water. It's a liquid, a gas, or a solid. And when it turns to ice, it's a solid. So therefore, it is a structure. Well, that structure of ice can be coherent or incoherent, depend on the coherence of the water when it froze, right? So structure means that the molecules are in a coherent state, somewhat bonded together, and still quite very liquid, although the water could be a little bit more viscous. I did a podcast with Gerald Pollack from the University of Washington, who discovered something called the 4th phase of water. There's gas and a liquid and a solid, but the 4th phase of water is what he found inside of the cells of plants. And that the plants have a purifying water system where they purify the water before it enters into the cell of the plant. And that water is uniquely different. It creates a structure, a hexagonal shape, a gel-like structure, which is super hydrating and nourishing for the plant. And supposedly that's also inside of our cells as well. And there are certain foods that he found, like ghee and things, are really loaded with structured water or this 4th phase of water in them, which makes them somewhat more medicinal, which may be why on Ayurveda ghee was such a kind of a heralded kind of medicine that they talked about for thousands of years and still to this day. So structured water is really something quite unique. And the other side of the equation is that a lot of the structured water companies or the coherent water companies in the past, they didn't do a lot of science, and the science was sort of sketchy and it wasn't really peer reviewed or double blind or anything. So I ended up discovering a company called Analemma Water, where they actually have created, after 15 years of research, they've been able to figure out a way to create a structured water instrument that can actually structure your own water in just 15 to 30 seconds that can stay structured or stay coherent for up to 6 years, which is like super amazing. In fact, they're looking at creating, coherent filters for the water upstream in rivers to create coherence in the rivers downstream, because as you'll see, the studies show that plants live longer, they grow faster, the microbiome changes. I'm going to talk about those studies in a minute. And the problem with structured water is when we are exposed to satellite radiation, we're exposed to EMFs from cell phone towers, we're exposed to all types of pollution and Wi-Fi. These subtle electromagnetic frequencies alter the structure of the water. Water is said to be a broad band, which means all kinds of electromagnetic frequencies are uptaken by water. It's a polar molecule, and it absorbs and is morphed to a certain extent or changed by these frequencies to a certain extent. It's still H2O, but it holds on to these charges to a certain extent and then affects its ability to go into a coherent pattern of structure where the H2O molecules, you have the hydrogen molecule with two oxygen molecules, which are then bound to the two other hydrogen molecules, and that sort of creates this structure. But pollution, air pollution, Wi-Fi, these things can really alter the structure of the water. And what's really neat about these electromagnetic frequencies, which are like everything from short waves to X-rays to radio waves to the visual light spectrum, they're all part of the electromagnetic spectrum, which is absorbed by the water. We're 70% water for sure, but the studies also show that in fact we're really more like 99% water, because why we're 70% water, because a lot of the cells of our structure are heavier. But when you actually look at so that makes we must only 70% water, but the cells themselves are made of 99% water. So we could make the case scientifically that we're up to 99% water, and the quality of the water we drink is really important. The water from the taps got fluoride in it and chloride and bromide and different types of halogens that are really not good for pollutants. I mean, it's been run through filters. It's just there's something unique, and I want to share the science with you about how to some of the science of the analemma research. One study was a 2021 double-blind placebo-controlled study where people drank 1.5 liters of the analemma coherent water for 2 months, and they saw an almost 3 times increase in their ATP, their adenosine triphosphate. That's the energy that's produced by the mitochondria in every one of your cells, and that's what makes me move my arm, think, have a thought. All our energy comes from ATP, and the good water, the analemma water, increased the ATP production by almost 3 times. That's a massive amount. Another study, a longevity study, showed that it's a company called Glycan Age, which measures biological aging. And glycans are sugar molecules that can attach to protein molecules when there's stress or free radical damage. And they can measure your biological age based on how much glycation you have and how much glycan damage you have. And they did a study where these people drank the analemma water, the coherent water, for 3 months, and they saw a reduction in biological age range from 1 to 12 years in just 3 months. The average biological age decrease was 3.79 years, and 99% of all the subjects who drank the water saw some kind of biological age reversal, which is kind of really amazing. Another study, another 2022 double-blind placebo-controlled study, where they measured the microbiome after drinking the analemma water, and they saw a 17% restoration of dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is the altered or undesirable bacteria that proliferate in your gut and wreak havoc in your gut and the gut-brain connection that can affect your mood, your energy, your vitality, your immunity. Pretty much everything is run by these little bugs. And we now know that most of us have a significant lack of microbial diversity. As a matter of fact, I wrote an article about the fact that microbial diversity is what they're calling an extinction event. They actually measured the poop from mummies or in museums that were 1,000 years old, and they measured their microbiome, and they had significantly more bugs in their gut back then than we do today. And they concluded that this was an extinction event, which is kind of really amazing. Another study where they actually measured the brain waves. They had two identical twins. They both drank water. One drank analemma water, coherent water. The other one drank regular water. And the one who drank the coherent water had an instant change in their brainwave coherence, which means that the brainwaves became coherent, which means that all parts of the brain all of a sudden started to function in the same way, all doing the same thing. Unfortunately, when under stress, a lot of different parts of the brain, one is thinking about this, one's thinking about that, and the brain is very incoherent. All the different parts of the brain are doing different things and they have different frequencies. But brainwave coherence is a sign of higher brain function, and that's what they saw instantly. As soon as they drank the water, the brain shifted into a higher state of function, a coherent state of function, which is kind of really neat. And they did it, and that happened instantly, and it also lingered as people continued to drink the analemma water, which is kind of really neat. And then finally, they did studies on plants, and they found that they saw that when plants were watered with analemma water, they saw an increased amount of fertility in the soil, and they saw an increased amount of soil microbiome. So this water provides an environment for the good bugs and the energy of these bugs to proliferate in a really amazing way. And then finally, the last study was done on 5G. And they wanted to see, like, what was the impact of 5G on structured water? And that's kind of the thing, all the pollution, it just takes the water out of its high vibrational state and becomes incoherent water. And it's fine, you can drink it, but it's not going to have that hydration benefit effect based on all the studies that I'm sharing with you. In this study, they actually took 5G and they introduced it to regular water, and they introduced it to a plant. And they found that when they measured the conductivity of the water in the plant after the introduction of 5G, the microcurrent conductivity of the plant dramatically declined very, very quickly. When they actually then took analemma water and watered that plant with analemma water and actually introduced 5G to the plant that was watered with analemma water or the coherent water, or they just measured the conductivity of the water, the coherent water, they did see a decline in conductivity that happened pretty instantly, but very quickly it came back. In other words, that the water recovered, very, very quickly, which I just thought it was really, really amazing. So I want to mention, if you're watching this on my website at lifespa.com, you can go to the article associated with this video and read and get all the links to the science behind all this, which is really amazing. Also while you're there, please sign up for our newsletter and also check out our Ayurvedic store on the way out. And also, if you're watching it on YouTube or other social channel, please subscribe to our channel. I want to show you the analemma water. Here's a glass of water, and this is what they give you when they send you this. It's a little kind of device, and inside this is a water. They call it mother water. Inside this little crystal glass, and it's a quartz crystal glass, which is a natural conduit for the coherence of the water. They took 15 years to figure this out, and it takes them a year to make the mother water inside this glass. And what they tell you to do is just take this and then take a glass of water, and just stir this into it for about 15 seconds. And I know this is like super weird that this could have any effect. But when you do it for about 15 seconds or so, the structure, the coherence of the water inside this glass, the mother water, because it's a quartz glass, it actually somehow is entraining the water around it to become coherent. And they've studied this, and after they do this, they've literally tried to abuse this water to see if it would go out of coherence, and it just wouldn't do it. And that's what makes this company so unique, is they figured out a way to create coherent water. Coherent water is a thing that's been around forever and ever, but the problem is it doesn't last. And that's what makes this water work so well. And then you just dry it off. And anything that's liquid with water in it, you can do it with your coffee, not before the water you would make coffee or tea with, or anything that's got water in it. You can actually create a structure with it. So if you want to learn more about this, you can go to analemma-water.com. That's their website. If you use the code LifeSpa108, LIFESPA 108, they'll give you a 10% discount off of that. So I'm really interested in this. I love water. I've been a fan of water. We used to go up to the mountains and get water from a spring and bring 10, 15, 5-gallon jugs down every couple of months and just drink the water. I've been a fan of really good water, really for my whole life, really, adult life. And because it's so important for our hydration, our health, and longevity. And when I first drank this water, I was really surprised because I actually just felt a little bit different in my brain. And I just kind of, figured out there can't be anything. This is just the weird thing to just, how could this really work? And then when I did a podcast interview, and I invite you to watch it, with the CEO of Analemma Water to kind of really dig into the science. And I've written a lot of that science up for you on my website in this article with this video at lifespa.com. You can go there and get it. And the first thing he told me was a study about the twins who had the water, when they drank the water, their brainwave instantly went into coherence. And I was like, that's exactly what I must have felt, because I really felt a difference in my brain. So I kind of became interested at that point, dug into the research, and interviewed the CEO of the company. And I think you're really going to find this to be a really amazing product. I'm super excited about it. And like I said, you can go to analemmawater.com and just make sure to get the discount. Use the code LifeSpa108. And you get a 10% discount off that. So I hope that works for you. And if anything, it's really neat to know what structured water is, what coherent water is, and to realize that it is a thing. It's been, it's naturally occurring in nature, but our environment is so incoherent that the water, which is so delicate and fragile in terms of its ability to bond and become coherent, it doesn't stay in a coherent state for any length of time. And I love the mission of Analemma. I mean, they're talking about purifying the water, that we drink in big, filters, I guess you would call them, that would actually change the water before it comes into your house. They actually have a whole house filter. So that it's, they're looking at doing this in a much bigger way for the planet, not just for them to make money selling you Analemma water to make us healthier, which is obviously a really major thing. But the water on the planet has been just so contaminated with so many pollutants and petrochemicals and nuclear radiation and environmental pollutants and runoff and pesticides. It's our most sacred, gift on this planet is water, and that's why I'm super excited about it. So cheers. I hope you guys take a look at this, check it out, see what you think, and thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.